and yeah, the teacher had no idea what was happening. He's like, how'd you do that so quickly? But that's just how we do things, I guess. All right, so synthetic division. So the idea of synthetic division is to avoid this long polynomials division that you've got to do. Now, don't get me wrong, this is beautiful. Like, it works really well. It's a very simple method of dividing. It's very nice. You don't have to move away from that. So I don't recommend learning synthetic division unless you really want to, right? Unless you're really good at it, the long division, maybe then come into synthetic. But here we go. Synthetic division. So the idea is this. We know x minus 1 is a factor, right? So we're going to go and have x minus 1 on the outside. And we know it's going to be multiplied by something, true, for it to equal to x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. So x minus 1 needs to multiply something to give you x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. Darius, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So now what you've got to understand, if you're really good at expanding, you've got to think about, well, x times what in here would give me an x cubed. So x times what would give me an x cubed. And that would only be x squared. Do we agree with that? Can you expand this in any other way? You guys know this is a quadratic, by the way. Don't forget your quadratics look like this. I should mention that maybe. So they look like this, x squared, x, and then a constant. So back to it. Or trinomials, whatever word you've used by now. Anyone confused about that step? And can anyone see any other way you're going to multiply these two terms to anything in here that will give you an x cubed? Or is that the only one? So anything else? Nope. So we agree, that's it. All right, that's the first part of your answer. The next one you do is usually, if it's fully factorizable like this, and the next one you do is the last digit. So minus 1 times what at the end would expand to give you an 8. Minus 1 times what would give you a positive 8?
Minus 8.
Minus 8. So now you're pretty much 66% there, right? You've got your x squared, you've got your constant. The only term we're missing is this guy in the middle. Okay, then what you do, so that's tick, let's say that's tick. What you do, you're meant to go from left to right. So the next term we're going to look at is this one here, negative 3x squared. Now what you got to think about is, okay, we all know this is going to be an x, right? We just don't know the number. We don't know the coefficient. We agree with that? We don't know what this is. Question mark. But we know that this will expand and there'll be a couple of x squareds. Can somebody tell me the very first x squared that they will see when they expand this? You gotta almost do it mentally without technically expanding. What are the x squares that you can see? Anyone? Yeah.
X times the middle term.
So let's call that. So are you saying this x times by this middle term x?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's call that a, right? A, x squared, just to make it easier. There you go, that's a, which we don't know what it is yet. What's another one? So that gives me x cubed, that gives me x squared, that gives me an x. Interesting. That gives me an x. That gives me a constant. So what's the other x squared I get?
Negative
First
1
time
times
negative
x
1
squared.
times x.
Yeah, so negative 1 times x to the power 2. So negative 1x squared. What needs to happen to these two numbers? They need to add, or they need to collect like terms for it to equal to what number? These two need to simplify technically to become what number?
Negative 3x squared.
Done. Done. You got it. There it is. And then, of course, that means a, if you ignore the x squares and just look at the numbers, a minus 1 equals negative 3. That means a actually equals to negative 2. And you're done. And then let's check if it's right. If it's right, I should get negative 6x, right? Let's see. If it's right, my last term should just work like a puzzle. Well, how do I get x's? This guy multiplied by this guy gives me negative 8x. This guy multiplied by this guy gives me a positive 2x. That would simplify to, wow, boom. So it might look really weird right now, but it can be done in like 3 seconds, because that and that are done in seconds. The first one, last one. It's just that middle term that takes, maybe a few seconds and then you're done. So what do you guys think? Confused? Anyone actually completely confused and like, what the hell? Because I can accept that.
I think it's easier.
Yeah, look, like I said, it's not a method that's taught in schools. You got to get that. So no teacher of yours, none of your teachers are going to teach it to you, but it is easier. That's my opinion as well. It's just for those who like to make life easier. The name synthetic division sounds hard. Yeah. Well, the idea of synthetic, the reason why I call it synthetic, because you're almost, it's a fake division, right? Did we even divide? Not really. We just used our skill of multiplying to technically show the division, I guess. So we're not really dividing. But yeah, I think it's easier. Your teachers will be super confused, especially the ones that haven't seen it, like what is happening. But don't worry, it's all good. It all works. It's fully legal as well. It's allowed for the HSC, so don't stress about that. All allowed. It's just getting used to it. It's a new way of doing it, I guess. So here's a basic one that you guys are all very comfortable with, right? Let's say x squared plus 5x plus 6. Let's just say we wanted to factorize that. Knowing that x plus 2 is a factor, what's this going to be? Is this going to be x squared in here? Think about it. X times what would give you x squared? So what's going to be the first term? What would be this first term? Is it a trinomial or is it linear? What do you guys reckon?
It will be x.
It would be x, and then 2 times what?
3.
Yeah, done. 2 times 3 gives you 6. Josepha, you've technically, maybe even done it like that before, but you never realized you're probably doing synthetic division, right? Because I know you can see these pretty fast. So there you go. That's the idea, but just done in a longer version. So let's try it again. Let's try it again. Let's try this one. X plus 1 times something needs to give me 4x cubed minus 17x squared minus 16x plus 5. Instead of doing the division, right? So instead of this, I'm doing it multiplied. Go. You guys can tell me what to write.
4x squared.
4x squared is good. Last one.
5.
Again, you're like 66% there. Then just do it in order. Negative 17x squared. So how do I get x squares when I expand this? What times what?
X times X.
So again, that would be like A. Yep. A plus A plus what number?
4x squared.
Or would need to give you, we don't really care about the x squares anymore once you know it is, but maybe we should write it. Coefficients of x squared. But I think you're getting what I'm saying. And then it's equal to?
Negative 17.
And then you're done. A equals negative 21. Finished. And if you want to check it, this times this is negative 21x. This times this is 5x. Negative 21x plus 5x is negative 16x. It works. You're done. Cleaner, right? Easier, in my opinion as well, but sometimes not as easy, you know. I've had students have one hand. No, wait. I don't like this. No problems. Up to you.